Matthew 12:30 says, "And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." Today, I want to talk about strength. I want to talk about weakness. I want to talk about swimming. And I want to talk about the power of God. Let's start with the word strength. Strength means the ability to do things that need a lot of physical or mental effort. That's a basic definition, and that's strength. And God says, "Love me with all your strength." And this sermon is going to be a reminder for you that you can love God with all your strength. That you can love God from all your strength, but also that you can love God with all your weakness, or that you can love God from all your weakness too. So, strength is the ability to do things that need a lot of physical and mental. It's not just about physical strength. It's also about mental strength. We have been talking about mental strength. Sometimes we have physical strength, and we're good with that, but sometimes mentally we're weak, and that also affects. Let me see if it's me. No, not me. Oh, it's me. It was me. We'll cut it in the video. It's fine. It'll be fine online. You can go watch it later. Okay, good. Let's go back. Physical and mental strength. So you can be physically strong or physically weak. You can be mentally strong or you can be mentally weak. And God is telling you, love me with all your strength. The word that Jesus probably used, we don't know if he was speaking in Greek or in Aramaic, but the Greek word used in the Bible means, it can be translated as strength and also as ability, as a force, as might, and it has the connotation of physical or also authority. So sometimes you have the power and the strength to do things, not by your own strength, but by the power and the authority that you have. Like when you have political power, they have the authority to say, we're going to do this. It's not the actual person that is going to do that, but he has the power to do that. So he has influence over people. And that's basically when things happen like politically with different countries. It's not the president is going to go and do something. He's just telling, we're going to do this, and people are going to do that. So that's also implied in the word ishus when he's telling, love me with all your strength. It's not just your physical and mental strength. It's also the capacity and the ability that you have to do other things. And we may not be political like people, that we have power over things, but you have authority over your family. You have authority over your work, whatever you're working. You have authority over the people, some of the people that you work with. You have authority, you have influence, you can influence people. And God is telling you, love me with all your strength. Over family, over church, you have the authority to do good deeds or bad deeds. You have the authority to do something good or bad. You have choices. So you have strength. And God is telling you, love me from all that. You have the authority and the power to love yourself. And you can say, I'm going to love myself, or I'm not going to love myself. And God is telling you, love me with all your strength. So, if you feel strong at this point, this morning, let me tell you two things. If you're feeling strong this morning. Because God is telling you, love me with all your strength. So if you feel pretty powerful this morning, then it's kind of easy to love God with all your strength. Because you're not going maybe through something difficult. You don't feel mentally weak. You don't feel physically ill. So you're fine with God. So you say, it's easy to love God with all my strength. Let me just tell you two things that you need to be aware of if you feel strong at this point. Make sure, in Romans 13 verse 1 says, everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God. And those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. make sure that you're recognizing that whatever authority you have comes from God. Even if you are a parent, if you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're a church elder, if you're a deacon, if you have a dog, if you're taking care of another person, you have authority over things that you control. The context of Romans is not talking about like parents and elders and leaders in different. He was talking about authority, like political authority. But I may say that if Romans and Paul is saying all authority comes from God, I think that also, like me having the authority to be the parent of my house, it's coming from God. You know, God has given me the place and permission to do that. It's coming from God. So if I feel pretty strong, just have in mind that that power that you have is coming from God. God has given you permission and authority and ability and wisdom to do that. Just don't forget that, because sometimes when we feel like pretty strong, that leads us to forget about God because we're so good, you know. But when we're so weak, oh man, we remember God. We want to be close to Him. We want to talk to Him. We need to talk to Him. But when we're strong, it's like everything's fine. So everything just go in a different rhythm, you know. Remember, make sure to recognize that that authority, that power, that position that you have right now is being given by God. And second, be careful. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 says, if you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. Again, the context is not talking specifically about what I'm talking right now, but I think it makes sense to think that if you think that you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. I think that I tend to fall more times when I feel strong than when I feel weak. Because when I feel weak, I'm trying to be closer to Him. I'm trying to be careful of my decisions. I'm trying to be careful of what I do and what I don't do, because I don't have enough strength to do things, you know. So I'm trying to be humble, and I'm trying to respect, and I'm trying to listen to people. I'm trying to have conversations with people because I am weak, you know, and I need something. So I tend to do that. But when I'm strong and someone is going to talk to me, it's like, I don't need that. You know, I'm fine. You know, it's like, hey, what about if we do this and this? And, no, I'm fine. I'm busy, you know. What about if we go and do this at the church? I'm busy, you know. And then we tend to forget God in those times. I remember, and I have told this to the youth, that the first time Princess and I broke up, it was 2 months. It was the first 2 terrible months in my life. I was so sad. I cried so much. And I was telling God, why me? It doesn't make sense. I go to church. I do this. I'm a good kid, blah, blah, blah. Why are you doing this? And it was horrible to be in that position. But I was looking for God. I started reading the Bible. I started paying more attention to God and being more open to Him and all that. And at some point in the middle of those 2 months, horrible months, I remember Paul's words about when he was enjoying being in weakness. And I was like, it doesn't make sense when you go and read Paul, because you are not in the middle of persecution. You're not in the middle of weakness. You're not in the middle of a prison. You're not being in those situations. You're like, okay, yeah, it's fine. You know, but when you're in a difficult moment, then you understand that God is taking you from the ashes and taking you up and giving you comfort and giving you strength and giving you things that you think that you have for granted when you're okay, when you're strong. You know, be careful. If you're standing strong, which is something good, because God wants you to be strong. That's why He's telling you, love me with all your strength. He didn't say, love me with all your weakness. He says, love me with all your strength. He wants you to be strong. But be careful not to fall. Love God with all your strength. Now, if you're weak, physically or mentally, this part is for you. Anybody here? Yeah, I can feel. Let me go to a story. In Colombia, I go to next slide, Ram. People will go on weekends, like holidays, and they will go to rivers, and Ron, go to the next slide. And they will go and the version that you have here is like a barbecue. It's not a barbecue. But let's say we go to the river, and on the shore we do barbecues. It's not a barbecue, but it's like your version. Like the California version will be like, you go to the river, you do barbecues. So there was one time that we went with my family. It was probably a holiday or something like that. And we went there. We were with my family. There were about 20, 25 people. And there you can see the shore. We were on this side of the shore. And then Go to the next slide. And then you have like a little river or lake, or it's like a little river that is passing there. So the idea is that you go, have food, you stay with your family, and then you go in the river, and then you come back, and then you play. Go to the next slide. And then you can see the distance between the little river. It wasn't too long. It's like the distance was from here to maybe where Ron is, you know? And at some point, I saw one of my relatives, or he was in the group, and he was swimming to go to the other side. And I thought, it would be nice to go to the other side and sit on the other side. I can do that. At that point, he was like in the middle of the process to get to the other side. And I said, yeah, it would be nice. June. So I started swimming, and I started swimming, and I was swimming, and swimming, and swimming. And at some point, I noticed that I wasn't moving forward. I wasn't moving, but I was swimming. I was like doing, and I was like, this is something wrong. There's something wrong with this, because I'm just stuck in the middle of the river without being able to move. And there's something that is called still waters. I was in the middle of still waters. When you have a river, the river has flow. So the flow is moving you and helping you to go somewhere. But when the waters are still, sometimes you're just doing this and you don't move because it's just stuck. The water is stuck in some place. So I was just swimming, and I was like, at some point, I was feeling so tired. And I was in the middle. So it was like, for me, it was the same to come back or to go there. It was like, there's no way. So at that point, I started feeling sore. My legs started feeling sore, and I started looking around, and I was like, should I yell and say, help me? You know? Because at that point, I was getting tired, really tired, and I was in the middle. And then you start thinking things like those things that you think really quickly in just a quick short moment. And I was like, but what are they going to think, about me? Am I going to be in shame because I'm asking for help, because I couldn't cross the river, so then I need help to come? But I still keep doing it, and I was still like pretty much the same position. I wish I could have like a camera to notice what actually I was doing. But I was just doing it, and at that point, my legs were gone. I was like, I'm gone. My legs, I don't have any power. And at that point, I was still thinking, should I ask for help? But I didn't ask for help. I was just like trying to do it. And I remember that at some point, I raised my head, and I looked to the front, and I didn't see the person that I was following. But at that point, I didn't have time to think, so I started like just doing, and then my left arm was like sore. So basically, at that point, I was just using my right one, and I started drowning, and I was like, every time I come out, I will say like, God help me, and then God help me, and I was just like doing, and I was so sore, so weak at that point that I don't know how, and I know how, it was God. I was just doing it, and I would go back, and I would go up. And at some point, I found like a rock, and I grabbed that rock. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, now I can rest. So at that point, I recovered my strength. But I was thinking about this story, about how to love God. If God is telling you, love me with all your strength, what about those kind of situations where you don't have any strength at all? Where you feel so weak? You have been trying and trying and trying and trying, but you're not moving. You're not moving forward. You're not moving backwards. You're just stuck in a moment. You're just there. Nothing is happening, but you're still trying with your strength to do something and to do something. And maybe are people that can help you, but you're saying, no, I'm not going to ask for help, because that's going to be so shameful. And you just keep trying by yourself. I can't do it by myself. I can do it. There was another person that was doing it, so I can't do it. And then you get to the point where you started feeling so weak. Your legs are not working. Your arm is not working. But you keep doing it. And that's just a representation. I know that's not like the specific case that you have had. But you know what I'm talking about. You have maybe been in those moments where you feel so weak, where you don't see any hope, where you see around and you see there's just water, no place to go. And God is telling me, love me with all your strength. I have no strength. What do you want from me? And when you're trying and trying and trying and nothing works. So I was thinking about that. If God is telling me, love me with all your strength, but I feel so weak that my legs are not working right now. My left arm is not working anymore. And I'm just kind of like going in life with just one arm. And then, because every time you're weak, you go just lower and lower and lower because you have less capacity to move in any direction. And then you start drawing, and that's worse. Because when you're drawing, then your mind's not thinking clearly. When you're going out under the water, you're just thinking about survival mode. And then you just became survival mode, you know? I need to survive in the middle of this situation. And probably you've been there. One of the classics when we talk about weakness is Isaiah, I think so, 40. Isaiah 40, verse 28 through 31 says, "Have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding." Have you never heard? Have you never understood? He is the everlasting God, the creator. He never grows weak or weary. Verse 29. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. He, the one that doesn't feel weak, that doesn't grow weary, the creator of all the earth, he can give you power and he can give you strength. And he gives power not to the power, but to the weak. And he gives strength not to the people with power, but to the powerless. So when you are in the middle of those situations, what you need to remember is that the creator of all things can give you strength and can give you power. But if you keep trying by yourself, at some point you're going to get sore. At some point you're going to get tired to the point where you don't know what to do. You know, go forward, go left, go right, go backwards. It doesn't matter at that point because you're in the middle and you don't know what to do. You know, and whatever direction you take, it's going to tire you more. It's going to get you tired. But the creator of all things can give you power and can give you strength, if you believe that. Amen. Sometimes what we think is that we can find that power and strength by ourselves. You know, if I control things, if I do things in this particular way, if I make these decisions, and if I do this and that, then I'm going to be powerful. Then I'm going to have strength. And then I can love God with all my strength. And it's like when we were talking about heart, soul, and mind. When we're talking about the heart, we found in the Bible that he's telling us, love me with all your heart. And we're like, how can I love you with all my heart? Well, I'm going to give you a new heart. Okay. So he's asking me something, and he's giving me the way to do it. And then we come to the soul. Love me with all your soul. How can I love you with all my soul? And he says, I'm going to clean your soul so you can love me with all your soul. Great. And then we talk about the mind. And then he says, I'm going to write my laws in your mind so you can love me with all your mind. And you have access to the mind of Christ. And now he's talking about the strength. And he's telling you, I never grow weary. I created everything. I created you. I know how you work. I know what you need. I know how you operate. I know what you're thinking. I know your relatives. I know what you care for. I can give you strength. I can give you power. Just look at me. But sometimes, like me, in the middle of the water, we're like, no, I'm not going to do that. And we start just going down. Verse 30. Even youth will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. And sometimes it sounds kind of like too religious, you know? Like, no, if I'm weak, I need to do something about it. You know, it's not just that I pray and I receive strength. It doesn't work like that. You know, it sounds too religious. But it is like that. You don't even know how the strength is going to come. You don't even know how the power is going to come. But God, the creator of all things, can give you strength, can give you power, can give you what you need. Even if you feel that there's nothing else to do. Even if you feel that you're so tired that there's nothing else to do. This is just the end. And at some point in the middle of that, I started thinking about that. What if I just go and I can never go back to ask for help? Because I didn't want to do it at some point, and I can get to a point where it's too late to ask for help. So then you start thinking, what if this is everything done? You know, he's going to figure it out after life. When he comes back, then he will tell me what to do. But for now, I'm just so tired. I'm so weak. I don't want to go anywhere. And just let yourself go. We look for strength sometimes not in God. And He is the creator of everything. And He can give you power, and He can give you strength. If you keep trying by yourself, maybe it's going to happen like it happened to me. You're going to get to a point where you're just tired, weak, no strength at all. And when you have that situation where you're going down the water, your mind is not clear. You cannot think in the way that regular people, the people that were on the shore side, that were eating something and having fun, you're not thinking the same way. Because they are there, and they're just like in different contexts. But when you are there drowning, and with no strength, your mind cannot think clearly. But we sometimes look for strength in a different place. If God is telling you, love me with all your strength, it's because you can love Him with all your strength. Amen. Otherwise, He's asking you for something that you're not going to be able to do. And it doesn't make sense. And sometimes the other thing that happens is that we compare ourselves to other people. Oh, but everybody else is strong. Everybody else has a lot of power. Like me, when I saw the other relative that he was doing it, I thought like, I can do it myself. I can do it too. And then I went in the water. The funny thing that happens is that when I found the rock, I like grabbed to the rock and I was like, okay. And I think it was God. Because at that point, I thought I was going forward. And somehow I started doing this to the point that I got to the rock. But at that point, I didn't know how I got there. I was just like trying with all my strength to the point that I was so weak and I was just like, boom, 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 and then I got to the rock. It was God. I wouldn't be here speaking to you guys for that case. I found the rock, and then I recovered my strength. But it took me like a long time to recover my strength. And then I started grabbing the other one, and I basically crawling got to the shore. And I was so weak, because when you do that for a long time, you are so weak. I was so weak. When I got to the shore, back to the shore, the funny part is that I saw my relative, and he was like kind of like resting on the shore. And I was like, oh, man, you know what happened to me? I tried to cross the river because I saw you, but I was almost done. And he was like, it happened to me, man. I'm just recovering myself. And I was like, what? But sometimes you see other people and you think everybody else has more strength than you. Everybody else has power, but you don't have power. And you're comparing yourself with other people. And the funny thing is that you don't know what the other people are going through. You don't really know if they're actually strong. You don't really know if they are actually like mentally strong or physically strong. But because we are all in this world of pretending, it may look like everybody else is just doing fine, and I'm just the only one. And because I am the only one, how can I ask for help? You know? And Paul went through weakness. 2 Corinthians chapter 7, the second part of chapter 12, verse 7, the second part of verse 7 says, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. And Paul says that something was put in his flesh in order for him to keep him away from becoming proud. Because when you become proud, when you feel pretty strong, and when you feel pretty, like, everything's just going great, I'm just too good, I'm so good, then you can get to the point where you cross the line, and now you feel proud of yourself. And when you cross that line, most of the times, you start forgetting God. Because now you feel that everything is the result of what you have been doing by yourself. And this is not being given by God. This is because I'm doing this. This is because I've been working so hard. This is because I've been waking up early in the morning and reading and doing this and that. This is because I worked to get here, you know? And that person, he is not doing that. And that's why he is weak, you know? And then you cross the line, and then you get proud. And Paul is saying, I got this to keep me from becoming proud. Verse 8, 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ can work through me. My power works best in weakness. That definitely doesn't make sense with the word. Because sometimes what we think is that if we show our weakness, then people are going to take advantage of ourselves. That's what we think. So because we work and we process mostly with the thoughts of the world, then we try to live in that way. So then we tell ourselves, I cannot be weak. There's no way I can be weak. Because if I am weak, then what are my children going to think about me? Then what's my wife, my spouse going to think about me? Then what's the church going to think about me if they see me weak? Because that's what we have in mind. But that's not what God is telling you. Because God says, my power works best in weakness. And you ask me to love you with all your strength, but you say that your power works best in weakness? It doesn't make sense. But he says, my grace is all you need. My grace is all you need. No, but I need to do this. My grace is all you need. But I have this, and if I have more strength, then I can do more things. My grace is all you need. But what if I show my weakness? Then people are going to take advantage of me. My grace is all you need. You know, but if I try to do this and this way, if I keep just swimming, I'm going to get to the other side. My grace is all you need. Because my power works best in weakness. And then verse 10 says, that's why I take pleasure in my weakness. And back then, in those 2 months, horrible months without Princess for the first time, she was my first girlfriend, so it was my first time without my girlfriend. I was like, it was so sad. And then you read Paul, that is what I take pleasure in my weakness. Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. You know? You have never been in a relationship like the way I had. And you don't know what it is to feel this way. That's why I take pleasure in my weakness, says Paul. And in the insults and hardships, persecution, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. When? Let's come to from. For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. And God says, love me with all your strength. Love me with all your weakness. Because when you're weak, then you will be strong because of my power, because of what I can do in your life. I created you. I created the heavens and the earth. I created everything. I can do whatever you want. I can do beyond of what you can do. You can just keep swimming by yourself. And sometimes He's so lovely and kind that He lets us go. And I think He's just there like, I'm just here. And you're like, no, I need to do it. Let me love you in your weakness. Let me love you when you're weak. Let me show you that my power works best in weakness. You don't need to feel strong to come to me, God says. I don't think He's telling you that. I don't think He's telling you that when He says, love me with all your strength. Because when you're weak, then you are strong. Any weak person in the room? You're strong by His power. Because that's what it says. You don't even have to try by yourself. You're not going to make it. Because if you were able to try by yourself, then why Jesus came here? Then God just said, go and do it by yourself. You can do it or not. I don't care. You know? Any weak in the room, you're strong by His power. You can be strong by His power. Love me with all your strength, but also love me with all your weakness. Because I'm going to take care of your weakness. I'm going to give you strength. But what if the meaning of that word doesn't mean all that what we have been talking about? What if it means something different? What if the conversation is different? Because the meaning of the word doesn't talk actually about physical strength or mental strength. See you next Sunday to talk about that. God bless you.